24th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. And we are at Agriculture School. At this moment, can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Mr. Secretary, roll call.
Good evening, everyone. Sybil Allen, Christina Baptiste Perez,
Christine, present.
Here.
Bobby Brown,
Present.
Mr. Keisha Casimir,
Here.
Michael Macaron, Joseph Sokoloff,
Present.
Robert Traver,
Here.
Mr. Abdul present. Say, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. IT, the individuals that are viewing online are having a hard time seeing the screen. So just give us one moment. Okay, all right. The next item is student representative reports. Please state your name, the school you attend, and feel free to give your report.
Evening, everyone. My name is Lindsay Muhammad, and I'm representing the Aerospace and Hydrospace Engineering School at Fairchild Wheeler campus. Just a few things, not too much. So first, our Krispy Kreme donut fundraiser by the PTSO was a success and a hit among students and faculty. And our Aero senior class has a trip coming up this Friday to the Westport Playhouse to see Ain't Misbehave. With Decision Day on May 1st, seniors have been choosing where they will attend this fall and for their next steps of their education, and have been sharing them on our Fairchild Wheeler Decisions page on Instagram. Our ECMC College Night that was originally on April 27th is being postponed. A date has not been set as to when it will be happening. Our graduation date has also been set for June 12th at the Hartford Healthcare Amphitheater, and the time is to be determined. May 11th is our Fairchild Wheeler prom for the class of 2023 and class of 2024 at the Waterview. In addition to this, we have two seniors today from Aerospace class of 2023. They have been chosen to represent their senior class, as many have expressed their desire to have a senior trip as a sort of a last hurrah with their fellow peers. You'll hear more from them later on when you have speakers. And that is all that I have for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next representative. Any student representatives online?
Hello, I can go. Good evening, Board of Education members, and thank you for the time to share an update. My name is Erica Pinto, and I'm here to represent aquaculture as a Central High School student. The Aqua boat captains are heading to Maine this week to retrieve the RVK Williams, our new floating classroom. We've been anxiously awaiting the completion of this vessel and are excited that it will be in the Black Rock Harbor soon. FFA members studied and prepared for their public speaking initiation last week. The Region 2 competition was held at the Stamford Vocational Agriculture School at West Hill High School on Monday afternoon. Our three participants memorized the FFA Creed, researched a variety of AG and technology-related topics and resources, and wrote an agriculture-related paper. After presenting their work to the judges, Alexis Poff ranked third in her recitation of the Creed, and Selena Rivera placed second in the extemporaneous public speaking by developing a presentation based on the resources she chose. Our third FFA member, Lauren Kaiser, won first place in the prepared public speaking and will represent the Aquaculture School FFA chapter and Region 2 at the state convention on June 3rd. These competitions build confidence and the ability to speak in front of an audience, skills we all need in our society today. We are also preparing another chef event. Invitations will be sent out later this week by Mr. Henry. The date is May 9th from 6 to 8 p.m. in our fish market. The owner of Tasty Yolk will be the chef of the evening with a Thai-themed menu. We look forward to showcasing our fish market products and serving the community. Thank you for the ongoing support.
Thank you so much. Next student representative.
Hi, my name is Evan Arroyo and I'm here to represent BMA. Report card conferences went very well. Teachers enjoy seeing cadets and their parents once again. Various field trips are planned for the remainder of the year, including a trip to see a Shakespeare play, a trip to Beardsley Zoo, and a trip to Discovery Rope Course. Penske Auto Company visited BMA. They are looking to hire current seniors when they graduate and train them in the automotive industry. Finally, senior cadets are committing to the universities and are looking forward to our upcoming Decisions Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Next student. I see Brenda.
Hello, good evening. My name is Brenda Ranza, and I am here to represent Bassick High School. First of all, I'd like to start off by saying congratulations to Bassick Superintendent's Quarterly Award winners, student Franklin Udogle and Miss Michelle Johnson. Franklin is a model student at Bassick, and we were very proud of his admission into Housatonic Community College Advanced Manufacturing Program last year. Once he graduates, he will be eligible to work in the manufacturing industry, pursuing a great career. Franklin is also a kind and loving student, often seen helping others and making positive contributions to classes. On behalf of our principal and everyone else at Bassick, Franklin, thank you for making our school a better place. Ms. Johnson has elevated math instructions at Bassick High School through her leadership and unyielding dedication to improvement of instructional practices. She has led numerous Math PD sessions around making thinking visible and has embraced HMH math curriculum integration into the school. Ms. Johnson, thank you for making Bassick a great place. Finally, I'd like to say on April 4th, BCYL offered 2 sessions of leadership training, one to freshmen and sophomores, and the other to juniors and seniors. Thank you, BCYL, for your continued impact on our students. That will be all. Thank you.
Thank you. Evan?
I already went for the BMA representative.
Oh, sorry.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Jalil Stewart from Morgan Park High School. In April, we had our third student talent show, which served as a capstone project for some of our art-focused seniors. We also had a class versus kickball tournament. Our upperclassmen team beat our underclassmen team, but unfortunately lost in the finals to the teachers team. In addition, we also had a FAFSA celebration lunch on for all the seniors that completed their FAFSA forms. As April's Financial Literacy Month, we had the State of Connecticut Comptroller and Treasurer visit our school last week. They worked with students on saving, investing, and how to build a good credit score. This week, we'll have 2 senior-led basketball tournaments. 8 seniors recruited and are coaching their own teams through the tournament. All games except the final rounds are taking place after school, May 6th. This project is also a capstone project for the seniors that are involved. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I believe that is everyone. Okay. At this moment, we'll open up the floor for public comment. You have 2 minutes. Once the timer goes off, we're going to ask that you, before the timer goes off, we're going to ask that you wrap up your final statement. The first person, it looks like there's 3 names here. Annalise, Morgan. Yep.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Margaret Carlson, and I'm a senior at Fairchild Wheeler Aerospace and Hydrospace School.
My name is Annalise Ovalia. I'm also a current senior at Fairchild Wheeler Aerospace.
So firstly, I'd like to relay to you all a bit on my own and my peers' experience at my high school. So for the past few years with COVID, we struggled a lot. Our first year as freshmen in 2020, our school year was cut in half. And then the years after that, especially sophomore and junior year, we have not had a full high school experience. And we've really struggled from that, both mentally and socially. And in general, we don't really have a lot going on at our school. So we would really like to stress the importance of our traditions. The last few years, we haven't really had a senior trip. We have a trip coming up this Friday, but it was not student organized, and so it hasn't really fit our needs and our objectives for a senior trip.
I would like to also mention that throughout the entire pandemic, it was extraordinarily emphasized that students are isolated. Specifically for our graduation, from half of our freshman year being stripped from us at home, from sophomore year, majority of students being online or told to come on separate days, or junior year, in which students could literally be punished if we were not social distancing properly. It wasn't until senior year that we were actually able to get back with our normal protocols. But because of that, not only were students severely isolated, we did not have much room for collaboration, inclusion, and expressing ourselves. With that being said, we haven't had any trips. And with that, we would like to say that even though Fairchild Aerospace, our senior class, has improved throughout the pandemic in writing, math, and science, we have not been able to improve socially because we're not allowed a senior trip. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies, for sharing. Our next speaker, you all set?
Yeah.
Okay. Our next speaker is Miss Joanne Kennedy.
Good evening. I'm coming up on behalf of Ms. Ortiz and the students. I'm here on behalf of the students from Bassick High School, Bridgeport Military Academy, who live in PT and attend these schools. These students came to the community forum at Harding in February and reiterated that they had not received a response from the BOE or the superintendent's office to a letter that they sent asking about the new Bassick. And I have a few questions for you all. Do you plan on responding to this letter from the students who are concerned about their future school? What's the timeline for the new Bassick construction? As of today, there seems to be no activity at the site, and at the forum, it was told to the community that it would start in March. Has the new Bassick project been delayed, and if so, why? That's what the students want to know. That's what the community wants to know. And I believe this letter they sent you originally was in December, and for no one to get back to the students is a little questionable, and it's not good for us not to respond to students. And to my understanding, there was a petition that they had gave at the forum. Also, I was there at the forum, so they did give in the petition. And when the students come up, just like these students, they need to be answered back. Someone needs to get back to them about what their concerns are, because we are here for them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There are no further speakers for public comment. At this moment, we're going to do approval of meeting minutes. The first one is the regular board meeting on March 27, 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Benahan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Traber. Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Ms. Baptiste Perez abstains. Motion carries. The next item is special meeting on April 3rd, 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Benahan. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Traber. Are there any questions, concerns, edits? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Ms. Baptiste Perez abstains. Mr. Traber abstains. All right, the next item is the chairman's report. The first thing that I would like to do is we recently as a board lost a board member. He is here tonight, Mr. Joseph Lombard, and the board would like to provide recognition to Mr. Lombard tonight. At this moment, we're going to also be mailing this to him, so I'm going to read it online. Thank you. In recognition of your service, let me come over here, sorry. You can see me, Mr. Lombard? Yes?
No, I see the board, which is fine. But I know
Okay.
who you are.
Okay. In recognition of your service to the people of Bridgeport, Connecticut as a member of the Board of Education during 2019 and 2023 term, your dedication to the students and staff of Bridgeport Public Schools, as well to the community at large, is deeply appreciated. We want to say thank you on behalf of the Board of Education. Thank you for your time, your service, your wisdom, your knowledge, and we pray all the best for you moving forward. And this is from the Board of Education. I know we'll mail this to you, but if you would like to have a few words, please do.
Well, thank you very much. It's very kind. And thank you for inviting me to this meeting to receive that virtually. As I said in my brief resignation letter, it has been an honor to serve on this board with every single one of you in the time that you've been on the board as I have been. And I think that great work is happening. And I'm glad that I was able to contribute in the part that I could during that time. So thank you and Godspeed to all of you.
At this moment, I would like to share that as we are still in the process of our superintendent search, the meeting of the Committee of the Bridgeport Board of Education will be meeting on May 4th at 6 p.m. via Teams with the search firm. They have met with each and every one of the stakeholders that have presented themselves at the last few meetings. And at those stakeholder meetings, they will gather the information, the board will meet, and then we'll come back on the further steps of that process. So just wanted to keep you guys updated on where we are with the superintendent search. From what I hear from Mr. Ferry, that everything has gone really well. So I look forward to seeing the feedback that he provides from his superintendent search. Are there any questions concerning that? Okay. Yes. Oh, sure. Mr. Sokolovich.
Yeah, the survey results are completed as well.
Can be a question that we ask him. Yes, I will make sure to ask. All right. And moving on to committee reports and referrals. The first one is Education, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, chaired by Mr. Sokolovich.
Good evening, everybody. Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee met on the 17th, and we had further discussed our request for proposals for diversity trainings for staff and board members and what have you. And the RFP is ready and should be presented at the next board meeting for approval. We also went over data for teachers, vice principals, principals, and administrators above principals. It seems like we're still leading the pack as far as the city, but we're still in the same position where we were previously. We just give or take a point here or there, but we're working towards getting a more diverse staff, and it'll be a recurring theme on the committee until we actually have equitable staffing levels to our student ratios.
Thank you. Are there any referrals to this committee?
It's going to be our next meeting.
I was just gonna apologize for missing that. The next meeting will be May 15th at 6 p.m. at President Central High School.
Again, any referrals to this committee? All right, hearing none. The next one is Finance.
Yes, the Finance Committee met on April 19th. At 6:30, we got a update on this year's budget. Seem to be ready to close the year balanced as usual. And then we had a status update of the 23-24 budget. There's been some improvement in the possibility of the state numbers going up to 3.3, the minimum of $3 million. We don't know where we're going to land yet. The city has offered us 2, which we all know is inadequate. We will be having a meeting with the city tomorrow as a group, and then on the that's the 25th, and then on the 27th, we will be having public forums, and I implore everybody to get out there. We are asking from the city $12.4 million. As you can see, some of the towns around us, like smaller towns, are already making cuts and layoffs because they gotten a lot less ESSER funding than we have, and it's run out a lot quicker. But we're going to be able to probably stall it till next year. But when we do our layoffs, they're going to be significant. Because if we don't get the funding, the system is in trouble. So everybody, Thursday, the 27th at 6 p.m., be at 45 Lion Terrace in the City Council chambers. Be ready to testify. Because if you don't talk, they won't listen.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. The next meeting will be on May 9th at 6:30 p.m. at Central High School Library.
Thank you. Are there any referrals to this committee? Question?
Yes, Madam Chair, sorry. I would like, and I already spoke about this, and I hope this time we can get the report about the lighthouse. I just want to know what lighthouse situation, because every time we ask questions, I don't know why they hiding information that we can know what's going on, because I know they use our schools. Yes.
Can you give me a little bit of clarity of what you want?
Yes, of course. Especially what I heard, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that they paid $75,000 to use the buildings, and I know one school maybe can pay $75,000 in light. So I know the budget of Lighthouse is very high, and I just wonder, because they don't only use the building, they use, like I said, light, gas, AC, custodians, everything. What's going on? What we have in the school. So I feel that $75,000 is not enough for our schools.
So you're just looking to see if we're getting our costs reimbursed by
Yes.
Yeah, because they got their own budgets. I would love to see their budget at some point.
Yes, please. Thank you, Joe.
Got it.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Traber, then Ms. Baptiste Perez.
Thank you, Chairman. I would support wanting to see more about what the Lighthouse budget is and what their contribution to us is. The question that I had for you, Mr. Sokolovic, is I want to make sure that I understand. Essentially, we restored a lot over the years, in the last 5 years or more. We were forced to make incremental cuts every year. And every year we had this discussion as we approached the budget time, where we got rid of kindergarten paras, where we got rid of coaches, where we laid off, we eliminated these positions. Much of that has been restored with the COVID money. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And the concern that you have, just to be clear to people watching in the public, is that after the COVID money, called ESSER money, runs out, which is in about a year, all of that stuff will disappear immediately unless we get some other source of revenue.
Correct. And in listening to your question, I think I should actually say what those positions are that were funded under ESSER funding.
That would be useful. Thank you.
Thank you for asking for more details. Guidance counselors, 10 positions are funded through funding, through COVID funding. Social workers, 11 positions are funded through COVID money. Elementary academic support instructors, 39 positions supported by COVID funding. Kindergarten paraprofessionals, we all remember, many of us in this room remember losing the kindergarten paraprofessionals, a blow that our children still have not recovered from. Thanks to COVID, which is a blessing for some things, brought back a lot of positions. We brought back 45 paras, able to have one para in every 2 classrooms. Funding for that would be drying up as well. And 9 assistant principals are funded under COVID. We're not even talking about the operating budget at this point. This is just the ESSER funds from COVID. This is not even hitting the operating budget, which is running at a structural deficit, basically being covered by some ESSER funding and some internal service funds. So once all that money runs out, we're in deep trouble.
Thank you. And just a quick note, everything that Mr. Sokolovic is talking about is also covered in the financial meeting as well. So I don't want to spend most of our time covering those items, but please go to finance meeting, hear the outline of the budget, the cuts are, the previous positions that were there and are no longer there. All right, Ms. Baptiste Perez.
Mr. Sokolovic, when I was chair of finance, I left a detailed, and it should have been completed by Ms. Siegel, outline of inquiries regarding Lighthouse, including cost per school, staffing. So that should have been prepared, and Ms. Papa was prepared to present. So following up on that should be easy, and just a coordination for her to show up to the meeting and show what Lighthouse is actually providing, and payments to the school and the timing.
Yeah, we did have some sort of breakdown, but what Mr. Benahan is referring to is the actual cost. I mean, we do get $75,000 per year, but we don't have a breakdown. We don't know how much costs that if we're going to run it through. We got a new program that was brought through, I believe it was facilities, where they measure all the monies, and we'll be measuring it against that to see how much actual they would be paying if they were a separate entity from.
I'd still like my agenda item to be addressed in finance.
Could you refer your exact agenda item again?
I could pull it from the record, and it's already been completed. It's probably in the January minutes.
Well, email it, please, because I'm not going to look back through dozens of times from the one finance meeting you had.
Okay. The next committee, are there any other referrals? Because we were in question. So hearing no referrals. The next item is governance. Mr. Sokolovic.
Yes, the governance committee met on May 17th, that's the next meeting, on April 19th, and the following was discussed. We talked about the big mess with Harding and having to create a new policy, and it seems to be being a monster of a policy that can't really be created on the spot in a meeting. So the committee decided it would be best handled in a small work group, and then presented to the committee at the next committee meeting a framework of what to go forward and build on it from there. And we also discussed the remote meeting policy, which when formed was not in compliance with state statute. It seems we've been restricting members' rights to attend remotely because they could just ask to attend remotely, and we don't have to put any restrictions on them. So if a board member is asked, we cannot deny them the ability to attend a meeting remotely. That is now the law of the land. So this policy must be brought into compliance with state statute. And there was one question asked of the legal department. So the legal department got back to us and said we could include the part with the board chair must be in person if we so choose, and we'll discuss that further at committee. And the next meeting will be on May 17th at 6 p.m. Everybody who's interested in the policies, please show up and give your input then. I'd advise everybody to read the board member policy that's in the packet from the last meeting so they could catch up, so we don't have to have another 2-hour meeting just discussing one policy.
Are there any referrals for governance? Yes, Ms. Perrin.
I wanted to refer looking at cyberbullying as a policy that we need for Bridgeport Public Schools, as well as looking at the existing discipline policy.
Ms. Grant, do those have related numbers on them, or just in student?
We don't have a cyberbullying policy, so that would be a creation, and I don't know the policy number for discipline off the top of my head, but I will send it to you via email.
Thank you.
Any other referrals for governance? Right. The next one is Health, Safety and Facilities Committee.
Health, safeties, and facilities have not met in the interim. and I'm hoping to get a meeting sometime first week of May.
Are there any referrals for health, safety, and facilities?
Yeah, could we look at getting like a firm schedule for this committee? Because it's been created for quite a few months right now, and our buildings really need to be addressed, and there's a lot of issues that need to be addressed in the facilities. And I know Mr. Benahed has like 3 or 4 referrals going on from the last chair who didn't have meetings at the facilities committee. So we need to move forward with our business on that committee.
Mr. Benahed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I know I already emailed Miss about this, all the information. We just wanted the date, and we have also as soon as possible. I know we're gonna have a good meeting.
Any other referrals for health, safeties, and facilities? All right. The next one is personnel and contracts. Personnel and contracts has not met in the interim. We'll meet on tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. at Central High School. Are there any referrals for personnel and contracts? Hearing none, I would also like to say that in personnel and contracts, we are covering our leadership positions and what their roles intake. So that's also been provided. So anyone that's interested in knowing how the district operates through its leadership, this is an opportunity for you to join that meeting to hear the presentations from the different teams. The next committee is students and families.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have a last meeting it was April 20 in the Central High School. We have amazing, very good meeting. It was very important. I have to say thank you with Mr. Flana, Dr. Belden for the information. You know, we update. It was very good, especially Ms. Rocha and Ms. Lynn. It was the first time I talked and we talk about LGBT, and it was very programmed. Ms. Perrin, it was there. Thank you for being there. And it's a good information that I know from that day. I have received a lot of calls from parents and students. They're very proud that we get this information out to help, the community and our students. Our next meeting is going to be May 18, 6 o'clock, Central High School.
Are there any referrals for students and families? Yes.
Go ahead, Ms. Perrin.
Ms. Perrin.
We're just going to do an update in regards to the parent handbook so that we can release it for next school year. So I have asked Lynn Stevens and Ms. Carly Reyes-Roca to present at that meeting.
Yeah, thank you. Also, Madam Chair, I want to add that I have to say thank you for the high schools, and they came to speak. Harding High School, they don't show up, but I say Madison, Blackham, and Cesar Batalla did an amazing report for the PAC, how the PAC leaders work together. It was very good.
Thank you. The next one is teaching and learning. Ms. Baptiste Perez.
Teaching and learning will meet on April 26th at Waltersville School at 6 p.m.
Are there any referrals for teaching and learning? All right, that is all of our committee reports. Just a reminder, all the committees their meeting schedules are on the Board of Ed website. The public can participate, so we encourage you to participate so you know what's happening. And then anything that's brought out of committee will come to a regular board meeting if it's voted on amongst the committee, and you'll be able to hear those items here at the regular board meeting. The next item is the superintendent's report.
First item that I have on my report is BASIC BMA update, just to address Ms. Kennedy and her concern in regards to a letter. I know that it was communicated at the forum that there was a letter sent, and as I explained to the students, I've never received a letter from them, so I can't respond to something that I've never received. I've never received a letter from students in regards to their concerns from BASIC and BMA. I have not received that, not to date. In regards to BASIC and BMA, Ms. Brown and I met with city officials in regards to getting more information regarding CT Deep, and we have not received a response from the city in regards to that. The purpose really was to try to provide a presentation about what was the different things that CT Deep did in preparation for the building of the new BASIC on the UB site. However, we did not receive that. We did send follow-up communications as well with no response. At the building committee that was held for 2023, it was shared that the additional contractual approvals, which were pending per Connecticut DEEP approval, had been received. And the approvals are as follows. From the Office of the State Traffic Administration, approval from DEEP with regard to the flood management, approval of the zoning board with regard to stipulated conditions, a submission of a copy of the building permit. So as of we stand right now, that all of the approvals that were necessary have been received, and the city is waiting on hearing about a possible groundbreaking ceremony at the UB site, which will be forthcoming. I spoke with Michelle Ortero this morning. She's working with the mayor's office to determine when that will be, and that will be shared accordingly. The RV Catherine Williams, which is the new research vessel, will be here by May 1st. There will be a welcoming ceremony for that as well. Cross endorsement sessions for teachers interested in teaching math and science for school year 23-24 have begun as well. Assessments, 5th and 8th grade NGS testing will begin the week of April 24th. SBAC for grades 3 and 4 will begin the week of April 24th as well, specifically for ELA and the math assessment. Avant Stamp Placement Language Exams for the Seal of Biliteracy will begin this month. This is awarded to graduating 12th graders who are proficient in the target language per the Connecticut State Department of Education approved assessments. Students must achieve an intermediate or mid-score level overall. This includes speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Reading Plus assessments for grades 9 to 12 are scheduled for May 8th through May 12th. And the Student Climate Survey will begin for grades 9 to 12, May 15th through May 19th. Student login information will be shared the week of May 1st. Currently, we are currently have out our our family surveys, in for SEL that are closing on Friday of this week. So that information has been sent out via Parent Square. Currently, right now, we have approximately a little over 1,000 responses from parents and families. I have communicated to principals that they are to send out daily reminders so that way we can get more feedback from parents. Upcoming events include our PAC Roundtable, which is taking place on April 26th at Central High School. The focus is immigration. We have our public hearing that Mr. Sakalovic spoke about on the 27th at 6 p.m. in City Hall chambers. Communications have been going out in regards to that. We have a job fair happening on the 27th as well for anyone looking for certified positions, teaching positions for next school year, 6 p.m. at City Hall. Our quarterly celebration will be taking place on May 3rd at Harding High School at 6 p.m. We have a technology showcase coming up on May 22nd at Fairchild Wheeler. Our math meet for grades 7 and 8 will be taking place on June 1st from 9 to 1 p.m. at Sacred Heart University, as well as our adult education graduation will be taking place on the evening of June 1st as well. And our high school graduation day is on June 12th. Kudos, we're recognizing 2 juniors from Aerospace Fairchild Wheeler campus who will receive recognition for the 2024 National Merit Scholarship Program. In September, they will wind down the current list of 50,000 students to 16,000 semifinalists. Of those 16,000, 72, I don't know what's wrong with this number, but I believe it's 7,200 will be offered scholarships. And 2 of those will be Zachary Allen and Eleanor Lennon, who both are part of our Fairchild Wheeler Aerospace campus.
Thank you, Ms. Perrin. Now open it up for the board to ask questions. The first one I see is Mr. Benahan.
It's not a question, but I have to say thank you, Ms. Perrin, to be a BASIC PTSO event. You give it good information, and people say it was wow that you be there and let them know the parents and the committee about our budget, what's going on Thursday. Thank you to Mr. Traver, Joe Sutcliffe, who was there. It was amazing. And as I say, BASIC PTSO event, they did a great job. Great event, and people and staff, it was very happy to see you there and see board members there. So I have to say thank you. I appreciate that.
Anyone else? Mr. Sokolovic?
Yes, just hearing an update on the Bassick schools brings to mind. I think we got probably a bit of an oversight on our agenda because all the committees are listed, but we don't have the school building committee giving out reports. I think maybe it would be appropriate for either you sit there as a chairperson or just to have, every time we have a meeting, just to have that as part of either the chairman's report or the superintendent's report, so we could all be up to date all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I don't get the links to them anymore. I mean, I know I'm not a member, but for the public to be able to watch and for board members to be able to watch, maybe we can all get the links to the meeting so we can all sit in and just listen, even though we won't have the right to speak.
Thank you. Anyone else, like any questions or comments for Ms. Perrin? I haven't called on Ms. Cashmere, so I'm gonna turn around. Ms. Cashmere, do you have any questions, comments for Ms. Perrin?
No, I just wanted to say thank you to Ms. Perrin for all of her hard work. I just wish that we could put together like some kind of like schedule for what she is responsible for on a weekly basis, just so people can get a really good picture of, you know, what she's responsible for and how hard she works. So I just wanted to say thank you for all her hard work. That's all I have.
Thank you. And now we're gonna move into, if there's no other board members. Okay, now we're gonna move into old business. We have 2 items under old business. The first one is the second read and approval of 9210 official duties of the chairman. This is Mr. Sokolovic's agenda item. This was also brought in committee and also at the regular board meeting in the past. So this is the second read of it. So Mr. Sokolovic, you have the floor.
Thank you. Yes, the first read of this was accepted unanimously as the board. I'm not quite sure if we made any suggested any changes, but this is as it was supposed to be passed. Would we like to read this all or just the changes?
Let's read it all.
Official duties.
Point of personal privilege, can it be posted online so that way the viewers can see?
Mr. Jeff, is that? Thank you. Just give us 1 second. Just scroll down. There you go. That's the one. If you could just make it, yep. Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Sokolovic.
Okay, all changes and revisions are noted in red, as usual for the last few meetings. Official duties, chairperson, used to be every chairperson used to be chairman. This is the updated.
Point of personal privilege is still not up and available to the public yet.
Oh.
Keep it there. Just scroll down. Just a little too far. There you go. It's right there. Thank you. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, official duties, chairperson rather than chairman. 1, the chairperson shall cause to be noticed or canceled all meetings of the board. 2, the chairperson shall preside at all meetings of the board. 3, the chairperson shall serve as the board's spokesperson. The chairperson shall appoint the chair and members of all regular, special, and ad hoc committees. 5, the chairperson shall serve as ex officio member on all committees. 6, the chairperson shall have authority to act as the board's representative for the purposes of consultation with board legal counsel and may authorize other board members to consult with the board counsel when the chairperson deems it to be appropriate. This is new language here. The chairperson will distribute to all Board of Education members the written legal opinion of board counsel. 7, the chairperson shall perform other such duties as may be delegated to him or her by the board. 8, the chairperson is responsible for the development of the board agenda and has final authority as to its content. 9, the chairperson shall sign the instruments, acts, and orders necessary to carry out the state requirements and the will of the board. 10, the chairperson shall confer with the superintendent and act as the board level resource on crucial matters and decisions which may occur between board meetings. 11, the chairperson shall have the right, as other board members have, to offer resolutions, discuss questions, and to vote. 12, the chairperson shall have the authority to invite legal counsel to address the board at any board meeting regarding process, procedures, or substantive matters with prior notice to the board. That's new language. When the chairperson deems it would be in the best interest of the board to do so. The chairperson of the board, or, new language, the majority of the board may authorize legal counsel to serve as parliamentarian of any board meetings. This appears to be exactly as passed in first read. But I think there was one slight amendment, but everything is pretty much the same.
Are there any questions, comments, concerns with this document? I'll ask again, are there any questions, comments, or concerns with this document? Ms. Baptiste Perez.
I guess the only, it's not necessarily the biggest comment, but on item 13, I think because it deals with a financial cost to the board, I would have preferred to see a supermajority, 2/3, but seeing that it's been rarely used and hasn't been utilized in the 2 years I've served, that's the only comment I have towards it. Thank you.
Are there any further comments, questions, or concerns for this document? Oh, legal. Yeah, please come to the mic. I'm sorry, I didn't even notice you were sitting there.
But it sounded to me as though there's a requirement of prior notice to the board in order to get advice from city attorneys. And I hope that that was only modifying the substantive stuff and not the procedural stuff. Because if a procedural issue comes up during the course of a meeting and you happen to have your counsel here, I would not think you'd want to restrict the ability to tap that input, whether it's outside counsel or someone from my office. Now, maybe I didn't hear it correctly, or maybe that qualification with prior notice was only intended to address substantive matters, not procedural matters.
Mr. Sokolovic, would you like to explain your reasoning behind that?
First time this is being thrown at me like that, so give me a second. I believe the language as is does not address your concern. So I think maybe, would you have suggested language that we could input?
Well, maybe you could, one way to deal with it would be to, I can't read that far, I'm sorry, I apologize. But if, let me, if you don't mind, let me come up a little. Okay, Bill says the chairperson shall have the right legal counsel.
You have to go to the mic.
Yeah, so you can be on record, sorry.
Yes, I apologize. Thank you for that technical assistance. Number 12 currently says, the chairperson shall have the authority to invite legal counsel to address the board at any meeting regarding process, procedures, and/or substantive matters. And then it says, comma, with prior notice to the board when the chairman deems it would be in the best interest of the board to do so. I can understand conceivably notifying the board about substantive matters ahead of time. But if a procedural issue comes up, whether it's an FOI issue, a Robert's Rules issue, a board policy issue or something, you're not going to be able to give prior notice to the board before the meeting. So, and I understand that with prior notice to the board is new language. I think you'd want to at least make it clear that or with prior notice to the board regarding substantive matters, something like that. Because otherwise you're depriving yourself of the ability for the chairperson to tap into some legal advice during the meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Sokolovic?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I think that could be resolved because the main intention of the policy is basically not to restrict our city attorney from appearing, it's to restrict us from incurring additional costs. So maybe we could add some language having to do with paid outside legal counsel.
Well, again, listen, that's fine. I mean, I notice outside counsel's not here today, so you're saving money.
Right.
Obviously, my staff would be available, including myself, to come whenever you feel a need for that. It's comforting to know that you don't feel you need an attorney here at every meeting, and that's a testament to, I guess, the effectiveness of how the board works. But I just don't think that if an attorney happens to be in the room on another matter or something and a procedural issue comes up, or if the chair gives a call to outside counsel out of my office at the last minute and says, we got a procedural question coming up tonight. I'm just trying to not have you deny yourself the ability to tap into available input. Doesn't mean you have to necessarily follow the advice, but at least you'd be able to hear it. So, you can think about that, amend it if you want, limit the with prior notice to substantive issues so nobody's surprised by it. But I defer to what you want to do. I just wanted to point that out.
Ms. Baptiste Perez?
I think that's an excellent point to distinguish between substance and procedure, especially when there may be procedural questions or Robert's rules to take advantage of the city and educational lawyers that are paid and actually study in our parliamentarians. I mean, there's no main motion at this time going forward, but I would, whatever goes forward, I am going to probably make that amendment because it does make a difference, and the substantive is more of the concern as to incurring costs.
Are there any further discussion on this item? Mr. Sokolovic?
Would somebody be able to offer amended language so we can move forward today, or should we kick it back to committee to discuss further?
I mean,
Baptiste Perez.
We've been counseled by the city attorney regarding the ramifications of it and a distinguishment between the substance and procedure. And while he's here, even if we have a procedural question, we can capitalize on him being here. So I don't think it's necessary, given legal advice to the board at this time, that it goes back to committee. It's a distinguishing factor that should be considered.
All right. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Okay. Yeah, we got to make a motion before we amend. Motion to approve the second read of policy 9210, chairperson, and approve for immediate implementation.
Would someone like to
So, second.
move by Mr. Benny and second by Mr. Sokolovic? Would anyone like to amend?
Yes, can you?
Well, I'm going to ask a parliamentarian question and utilize you while you're here. Is the role of the secretary to write down all motions going forward or being amended, so that way we have it clear for the record?
Either the stenographer or the secretary, somebody should definitely be recording.
Okay. So, thank you. I'm going to make a motion to amend what was previously stated, because I didn't write it down, but to include, and I don't have it in front of me.
Would you like me to read it again?
If I could just see it, I'll read it out loud. It's going to be a motion to amend chairperson 9210, subsection 12, line 2 through 3, which says with prior notice to to the board, and it's going to be amended to state with prior notice regarding substantive matters to the board.
Second.
Second by Mr. Sokolovic. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, Mr. Traber.
I have a question on that.
Yes.
Mr. Anastasio, are you saying that that would be sufficient from your point of view?
I think so. I think it makes it clear that the board chair only is obligated to issue prior notice on substantive matters. Now, there is the possibility, and this, I think you could address this further amendment. Let's assume we're at a meeting tonight, and it's not a procedural question, but a substantive issue comes up, and I happen to be here, or your outside counsel happens to be here, and nobody got prior notice that I was going to address a collective bargaining issue, or a legal settlement issue, or a contract issue, and it's substantive. I think you might want to add language at the end that says, notwithstanding, comma, the board can, by majority vote, solicit legal advice on any matter at any time. That way, it's not the chairperson making a unilateral decision, but a majority of the board. And that may go without saying, but I want to be clear that, you can tap into any of your staff on a majority vote. So maybe that's covered elsewhere. Maybe that's not necessary, but I'm pretty confident that would be the rule anyway.
Does that clarify your question, Mr. Traber?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Anastasia's amendment because that was basically in there before that the board can also request.
I believe I'm sorry, but I pointed the procedural point. It's your motion, so it would be a friendly amendment to your motion.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, we got to dispose.
Would you accept that as a friendly amendment?
An amendment to the amendment? Sure.
No,
that's procedurally correct.
Wait, okay.
I think we got to handle one motion at a time.
Motion is the amendment.
We can make another amendment.
We can ask the city attorney, can we make an amendment to the amendment?
You can, but it's just equally clear and possible to just do successive amendments so it doesn't get confusing.
Got it.
All right, so the amendment has been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the amendment carries. Now, we're going to vote back on the main motion.
No. We got another motion to amend.
Oh.
There's a motion to amend the amendment.
No, we're still adding.
The original motion, though.
So now everyone's.
Second amendment.
The second amendment.
Can you give us some suggested language?
Notwithstanding the board upon majority vote of those present may at any time vote to solicit and accept legal advice on procedural and substantive matters.
That was a mouthful.
I probably should have said it slower because I probably can't repeat it either. But you get the general idea.
I
tried.
Paragraph 12. Right period. Add to the end of number 12, strike the period, add a comma. Notwithstanding that the board. Okay, I missed something. The majority of those present on the board may solicit legal advice on substantive matters from legal counsel. Did I get it on?
Yes.
Is this the second amendment you're reading?
Yes.
All right. Why don't you read that again if you would? I apologize.
Sure, no worries. Okay, we're replacing the period with a comma and inserting notwithstanding that the majority of the board present may solicit legal advice on substantive matters from the attorney present.
I would say on any board matters. I wouldn't limit it to substantive, just say on any board matters. Because that's your right as a body.
Yes, Mr. Traber.
Let me recommend that you use the same language that's earlier in the section regarding the process, procedures, and/or substantive matters.
That works. That's fine. Absolutely.
Mr. Traber, could you read that out as amendment? It hasn't been seconded yet, so it's still up in the air.
What I said was, with regard to, you had regarding substantive matters, council suggested that you broaden that, not limit it to substantive matters. And so I'm recommending you simply use the language that appears earlier in this subsection regarding process, procedures, procedures, and/or substantive matters. So at the end, you're adding a comma, notwithstanding a majority of the board may vote to seek advice from council on matters regarding process, procedures, and/or substantive.
I had said all matters, but that's equally clear and spells it out, so it's no foul.
Yes, Ms. Baptiste Perez.
Also, I think it's redundant to have the majority of the board present. It's, you just say the majority of the board.
I would say a majority of the board present and voting, in case somebody declares a conflict or something.
Yeah, I agree, because right now we're standing as a body of 8 and this body of 6 of us here. If we would like to ask a question, the majority of the board would be 5, and we would not have 5 if 2 people disagree. So.
Okay.
Take a shot at this again.
Just reading the same.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, yeah. All right. I'd like to make a motion to amend, second amendment. Number 12, strike the period, add a comma.
I apologize.
Read it out and I'll just
If it makes it easier, because we're now creating one humongous sentence, you might want to put the period back in and say notwithstanding anything here and before, comma, and then get into the rest of it and make it 2 sentences so it's not a run-on full paragraph.
Let's try this again. Leave the period. I make a motion to amend by adding a new sentence. Notwithstanding that the board members, the majority of the board members present, may solicit legal advice on any process, procedure, or substantive matter before.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Great. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Traber. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. Now to the main motion. Yes.
I'd like to make an amendment to the main motion. Subsection 13 should be to the majority of the board present, for the same reasons present and voting, for the same reasons discussed in subsection 12.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Sokolovic. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. Now to the main motion. All right, are we losing you, Ms. Baptiste Perez? No, we're not. So main motion, would anyone like to make the main motion?
It's already made, it's already seconded.
Oh, we voted on it?
No, it wasn't. It was made, it was seconded, it was amended 3 times, and now the main motion on the floor. We're voting on the main motion as amended.
Yes. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. All right.
Thank you.
All right, the next item is discussion and possible approval of the Bridgeport Board of Education Library Media Refresher. Ms. Jenkins. This was also in our last meeting as well, so if you want to just do a quick recap.
Good evening again. I presented revised information based on the inquiries regarding the use of the language American Indian with the Capstone Publishing Pebble Gold product. Within the PowerPoint presentation I shared with you, I provided language from the company that the tile entitled American Indian History will be updated starting July 2023 to Indigenous Peoples History. They stated that they've been doing some research with the lead authority that led them to that change, but stated that the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. is still under the name American Indian. However, to be appropriate with the changes that are occurring with diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, the company will be making that revision and can remove the tile from the dashboard until the revision is made, or hide the information so it wouldn't be available to us if approved, or leave it open and wait for the change. I believe that was the answer to one of the inquiries presented by the board. And the second inquiry that was presented by the board was the funding of $1.2 million. And is there funding being taken from, say, staffing operations? And based on Mrs. Siegel's feedback, which I included in the PowerPoint as well, Mrs. Siegel stated that that money was allocated as a part of the initial ESSER funding for library media renewal and will not impact the reduction of staffing, and that based on the plan submitted to the state of Connecticut, we need to spend the money on library media renewal materials.
Thank you. Are there any questions? I'll ask again. Are there any questions? Ms. Baptiste Perez.
I just have a comment. I think the library media renewal project is going to be a great thing. Not only does it give our students access to electronic resources, but it also does bring actual physical books into the classrooms and into our libraries. And just being observant that a few of our meetings have been in the media centers or in the libraries of high schools. The more books, the merrier, in my opinion. So I'm all for this. Thank you.
Any further comments? Mr. Benayan.
Thank you. Dr. Jenkins, why is not just a question, and you can tell me yes or no if I'm wrong or not. Why this money in this budget cannot be used to help the library we have in Bridgeport schools?
Could you clarify?
The money, the amount, the money of this program is not the way, and they cannot use it. Let's say you had to spend the money. It's not the way we can help and update all the library we have in the school. Like I give a example, Cesar Batalla, based on my high school, Bassett High School, they need update. They cannot be using the money for that, or they have to use the money exactly for this program.
So this is phase 1. So the funding was allocated for the K-8 schools, and we purchased digital products first. We will be receiving a grant from the federal government designated for additional library media resources. So we will be using those resources to support upgrades in our high schools in particular and close gaps that we may have within the K-8 original plan. So additional money designated from the library media centers will be coming in from the federal government for next year. So will go into part 2. So, but Bassick High School, once their construction project is finished, to my knowledge, media resources are built into the new construction as well.
Okay, thank you. No more question, Madam Chair.
All right. Would someone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve the Bridgeport Public Schools Library Media Refresher.
Is there second by Mr. Benahan? Are there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Jenkins.
Thank you.
Now we move to new business. The first item is discussion and appointment of candidates to fill the vacant Board of Education seat left by Joseph Lombard. Board members, this information is in your packet. The candidate is here tonight. And we will do the same process that we have done in the past. Each board member is asked to provide one question. That one question will be answered by the candidate. Are there any further questions before we bring the candidate forward? Okay. Ready? You can join us at the mic if you would like. Yeah, join us at the mic.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. If you can just take a moment and just give us a brief synopsis or introduction of who you are, and then we'll start the questions.
Sure. Again, good evening, and thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to present and apply for this position. My name is David Gellin. I recently moved to Bridgeport in 2020. I'm from Haitian descent. I lived for a bit in Brooklyn, and then I grew up in Long Island, where from grade 4 to high school, and I attended Molloy College in Rockville Center for my master's degree and also my undergrad degree. I am a nurse. I currently work as a senior nurse manager at Lenox Hill Hospital. I've been a nurse now for 13 years. My anniversary was April 12th. And I also, before COVID, I used to also work as a nurse practitioner. I took a break from that because I wanted to focus on administration. I have a knack for leadership. I've worked on, a ton of projects in my current role where I work with staff, I help new processes, I help develop programs. About 2 years ago, I helped, open the neuroscience unit. And that it was a lot of work, but it's something that I really love to do. I'm really engaged. And I think this applying for this school board position is something that I do want to do because I do have 2 young children. I'm a father. I have a 12-year-old. Her birthday is on Wednesday. She's turning 13, and I have an 8-year-old. They both attend John Winthrop High School, and I do have a passion for education. And I think that, I want to do more, and I want to be a person that can be a part of the process. I know that there may be some gaps, but there are a lot of great things that are happening in the Bridgeport school system, and I want to be a part of the process. I want to be a part of the solution. I want to be a part of the great things that are happening.
Thank you so much. Let the record reflect Ms. Cashmere has joined us this evening. And if you could grab the mic right there for yourself. All right, so at this moment, thank you. It's good to see you back. We're going to start the introduction of questions. So I'm going to start with, I'll start with Mr. Traber. We'll start on this end. Mr. Traber? No, it's any question you would like to ask the candidate. Yep.
Mr. Gellin, let me ask whether you have any conflicts within the Bridgeport political structure and the Bridgeport city.
I do not.
All right. Ms. Baptiste Perez.
I'll pass and go later.
All right. Mr. Sokolovic.
Yeah, what made you move to Bridgeport? What made you move to Bridgeport?
That's a very good question. As you know, during the pandemic, there was a mass exodus of New Yorkers moving to different parts of the country, especially Connecticut. I looked I was looking at different areas in Connecticut to move to. I looked at Trumbull. I also looked at West Haven. Looked at New Haven for a bit. I wasn't too fond, but I landed in Bridgeport because of the diverse community. I think, I really wanted to raise my children in an area that, that gave them that where they actually saw, they could see potential and they see great things that are occurring. And Bridgeport, to me, encompasses that. I can go right down the block and there's a farmer's market where I could find good old Haitian spices to make meals for them. But I can also go, there's a Trumbull Mall and get, Panera Bread or, Target is right there. So the convenience of Bridgeport as well really attracted me to it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Benahan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome. Thank you for applying. Question for you is, we have almost 20,000 students. We got almost 3,400 staff and amazing parents. What is your goal via as a board member and communicate with parents, student, staff, senior community while on Bridgeport Public School?
Oh, sorry. Can you repeat that question? I'm sorry about that.
Of course. We have almost 20,000 students, 3,400 staff, and amazing parents. What is your goal as a board member to communicate with parents, students, staff, seniors in our community in Bridgeport Public School?
Thank you. That's a phenomenal question. I think first and foremost, I think it's really important to lead on the expertise of the chair, the board members. I think really leaning on the board members to find out which avenues work best in communicating with the different groups, whether it be the students, the amazing parents, and the teachers. During the meeting today, I know there are different committees, so really aligning myself in a committee that I find that'll help, really strengthen my, really help me shine with the abilities that I do have. I know that health committee, health and facilities committee, governance committee, personnel committees, those are things that I really lean towards, and that can help me have that forum to then to communicate to the community, amazing families. Also going to the schools and, looking for ways to maybe have board meetings, see the ideas, maybe having board meetings in different locations, maybe different high schools, different, maybe elementary schools to help bring the communities closer, bring the community, we go to the community as opposed to having some of the different communities come to us.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Kashmir.
Yeah, my question is, what do you do for self-care? How do you take care of yourself? What do you do to relax?
All right,
That's my question.
That's a very good question. You may find this odd. What I do to relax, I do jujitsu. I'm a blue belt. I do compete. I've competed in Newtown, and I've competed in Florida last year. But I really do love jujitsu. I think it's an opportunity for me to really focus when I'm under pressure. When you have somebody's knee on your face and you could really stay calm and find a way to get out of that, I think it really would help. It really helps me in whether the work that I do, parenting, dealing with 2 children. I am a single dad, so I do rely heavily on my community to help me out as well. So, but the jiu-jitsu helps me relax. I know it's odd, but it does help me relax. Thank you.
Please, Perez.
Tell me, what is the role of the Board of Education in Bridgeport? And walk me in the community as to how your qualifications match the role for the Board of Education.
All right. I think the role of the Board of Education is to be a community advocate, and also to help ensure that the fundings are allocated to the school and to ensure that our students are given the opportunity to excel, to ensure that we're prepared, our professors, our teachers rather, are prepared to, to care and, teach our students, and to ensure that the buildings are supported and maintained. And I think my role and my experience as a nurse manager, as a father, as a son, really helped me in this role. So I could walk you through this. So as a nurse manager, I deal, part of the day-to-day is, hearing the needs of our patients, whether it would be, can they go home today, whether it would be educating them on their medication. They may not know exactly why they're taking it. So I could correlate that to our students, correlate that to, maybe how can we help them achieve, high math scores, better reading, higher ELA scores, and what have you. Parents, I could relate that to family members. The parents are extremely anxious, especially with me and myself. I'm, always concerned with the gap that our students had, my kids had during the time during COVID. My son, who's in 3rd grade now, he needed that extra ability to, the extra instruction to get him up to the reading level he is currently. So how am I, with the role that I do currently, how I help support family members? I'm here to help support parents as well. As a board member, I think that I am, willing and able, and the experience that I have to achieve that is there. To help support teachers. I have staff. Currently, I manage 8 units, 4 critical care units, and also the step downs. I, manage a total of 4 managers and 16 assistant nurse managers. I have 4 for each unit. Everybody wants to do the best. Everybody wants to give their best work, but they need the resources. So how are we supporting our teachers to ensuring that they have the best resources, the best libraries, the best facilities, and the funding that they need? And ultimately, working together, I think I'm a true partner. I'm a team player. I find a yes in every situation is never a no for me. So working along the school board, my colleagues here would, I don't think it's nothing that we wouldn't be able to achieve. I've worked in my current role. I work with not only directors, I work with the medical director, I work with other senior managers and in interdisciplinary team, whether it be our providers, interdepartmental team members. I'm a person that's willing to bridge the gap and work with folks. So I'm well prepared and willing and able to do the job, Ms. Baptiste.
All right, and then finally, my question is, just looking over your resume and your cover letter, to sit on this board, you are giving yourself a commitment to not only just attend board meetings, regular meetings, special meetings, emergency meetings. They may happen, pop up. Some of them are scheduled. Some of them will immediately pop up depending on the issues within the district. Do you have the time, the capacity, and the ability to attend meetings that are called by the board?
That short answer is yes.
All right, well, that is all of the board members that had any questions. At this moment, board members, how would you like to proceed?
We could just vote. We got one candidate.
Yeah, we only have one candidate.
I would like to make a motion, nominate Mr. David Jellin for the board to take over the board seat vacated by Mr. Joseph Lombard.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions, discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Do we have a roll call vote?
Yeah. Mr. Secretary?
Thank you. Wow, I don't know what the paper says. Silver Allen? Christine Baptiste Perez?
Pass.
Abel Benjamin Grajales, yes. Bobby Brown?
Yes.
Akisha El Kasimi?
Yes.
Michael Macaron? Joseph Sokolev?
Yes.
Robert Traver?
Yes.
Going back to Ms. Baptiste?
I'll abstain.
All right. So do you want to? All right, read it out.
Give me 1 second. We have 5 yes, 1 abstains, and 2 absent. Motion passed.
Motion passed. Welcome to the board.
Welcome.
At this moment,
Motion for a brief recess.
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. Take this moment. The city attorney will read you
All right. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
We're ready? Yes, okay. All right, the next agenda item is discussion and possible approval of memorandum of understanding with RISAF for the delivery of home visiting services as subcontracted on district state funding ARPA dollars to expand support for learning and engagement attendance program. I believe there's a representation here, Mr. Mark. And Ms. Clark is also here too.
Yes, I am. And Ms. Stevens is also here on behalf of the department.
Okay.
So this is just a continuation of LEAP funding, as I explained during the committee meeting. We originally received funding from a separate state source, so that was passed through the rest for the first part of this this program, and then the state actually changed their funding source and gave us these monies directly, which is why we had to create a separate contract, and that it looks like this is a little bit delayed, but it's actually a continuation of work under a prior source. And that's why the word expanded is also in there. I guess the state created that just as a bridge because they were giving us the monies directly. Mr. McDonald, on behalf of RISAF, is in.
Yeah. Ms. Clark.
Is there a question? Yes.
Yeah, we're getting bits and pieces of what you're saying.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can you hear me clearly now?
You're still going in and out.
Oh, okay.
Would you, this item was also brought up in committee as well. Would you like Mr. Mark to proceed on further with this?
Yes,
or Ms.
please.
Lynn?
That's why he was invited, and Ms. Stevens as well, and I will try to disconnect again.
Go ahead, Ms. Stevens.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not sure if Mark Donald's on the call, but I can speak a little bit towards the LEAP grant. So as Ms. Clark indicated, this is a continuation of a grant in which we've supplied 60 home visitors from Bridgeport Public Schools to perform relational home visits. We've actually had approximately 6,000 family contacts and addressed multiple barriers that have been identified as barriers to attendance. We have now included, we originally started with RISAP home visitors, and because of the direct funding and the decrease in state funding, we have transitioned to the 60 home visitors within Bridgeport Public Schools.
Thank you so much. I know that, Mark, if you want to join us, normally the board just wants a little bit of how this grant works on your side of the house. So if you can just explain a little.
Good evening, folks. Mark Donald, Executive Director of RISAP. As part of our relationship with the district, what we did is we provided home visitors who were able to go out into the community during the school day when a lot of the Bridgeport Public Schools employees were unable to because they were already engaged in school. So we would, in partnership with Ms. Stevens and Carly Roca-Reyes, would work alongside and try and go out to the homes during the school day, knock on doors, do various outreach, text, phone calls, word of mouth. We also worked in partnership with the 5 schools that we're currently in through other contracts, school improvement grants, as well as private funding that RISAP brings to the table. Marin, Barnum, Bassick, Battaglia, and Bridgeport Military Academy to try and help reduce chronic absenteeism.
Thank you. Now I'll open it up for the board for any questions. Does anyone have any questions for RISAP? Mr. Benahan.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, to be here. Good to see you again. It sounds great, but when I say the school busy, you know, you visit those to home, I'm a little worried about that. I know I've already asked, we talked about this before, and I asked the question in the committee. It's going to be something that you guys going to be, I'm asking, let's put it this way. I don't want people to attack the staff, attack you. You know, sometimes something's happened, parents get upset, why you come, not come here. You know, are you guys will be okay? Are you covered? Are you going to have a police officer? Are you guys going to be something protect you. They can throw you something. They can, some people that will say, thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you for coming. You care. Because that's why we're here. We care. But sometimes people acting different. So I just worry about that. All of you, that's fine.
Yeah, and that's, certainly it's something top of mind. You don't ever want to send your employee or anybody into a dangerous area, particularly when it might be start off on a negative footing because a young person hasn't been in school. But we take a lot of pride in it. I'm a former principal teacher in South Bronx, New Haven, Stanford. So part of our own outreach at the time was to do home visits. So I was supremely conscious about that, supremely conscious about how that reflects on the district. We don't feel that a police officer is the best person to do attendance outreach because they're public safety officers, right? We want to go out on a neutral footing, work with a family, work with the parent to get them in an appropriate education setting, and then support them with staying in it. So certainly something that we take very seriously, and we train our staff members, ensure that they know exit strategies. We work with the district on restorative justice and social emotional learning, so we train all of our people in those concepts as well.
That's great. You can count with me. You have my support as a bilingual, I'll be a chair student family. I would like to support you, walk with you, get busy. You can contact me. I would like to.
Thank you.
Thank you. No more question, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? Ms. Cashmere?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off of what Mr. Benahan said. So I remember when I was a home visitor for Bridgeport Hospital, we had a police officer come in and talk to us about just basic safety. Like if it's a neighborhood that's called a hot spot by the police department, is it smart to go in there after 5 o'clock in the wintertime when it gets dark for a visit? What kind of safety measures are you guys having in place? That's just an example of what we did.
Sure. Well, we start with people who are from Bridgeport, grew up in Bridgeport, have the personal relationships in Bridgeport. That's number one. We adopt the credible messenger throughout our agency, so that when our folks are in the community, they're recognized as, safe members themselves. So they're not antagonistic. They're not, coming at it the main way. And I think part of it is one, it's RIASAP's reputation in the community as a problem solver and working in all sides of the community. I think the other thing is, and quite frankly, the police ask us to train them in de-escalation, especially like school security guards. So it kind of goes up and down. Ultimately, you have to have good people, you have to train good people, and you have to get them to trust their kind of internal radar to remove themselves from a situation. The most important thing is to respect the agency of the parent, respect the agency of the young person, and get them re-engaged in the school.
These visits that you're doing in the home are for children who are having attendance issues or any other reason for the visits besides that?
Not for this particular grant. No.
Not for this grant. Okay. Thank you for the clarity. That's it.
Any further questions?
Ms. Brown, if I can just expand on the important clarity, because I think it is extremely important. Home visitors do not go into the home unless they have approval from parents prior to the visit through a phone call. Sometimes there's multiple phone calls that take place to establish that relationship. If a parent does not want a home visit, they do not go to the home. And the reason being that these home visits really are about creating a relationship with the parents and not putting them on the defense. We want parents to know that we want to learn how we can support them. So it's very important that home visitors have that relationship established before they go to the home. They always go in pairs as well. We use our home visitors from the specific school to go into the neighborhoods of the school, so they know the neighborhoods in advance. They also know the families in advance because they're working in that school where that child attends school. So I think it's really important to have that piece of it, to understand that this is not something that home visitors go into without knowing the circumstances around the family. And then the last piece I would just share is that in these 6,000 family contacts that we've made, I've only had one situation where a home visitor felt that it was not a comfortable situation and they actually did not enter the home and they left. So I think, while we don't want that to happen at all, those are pretty good odds to date.
That was helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Baptiste Perez.
I believe that answered part of my question. I was going to say for Bassick, BMA, Battaglia, Marin, and Barnum School, this is limited to these 5 particular schools. That was the question. I believe it was answered as yes.
No, I think I misspoke. So we currently have programs, and Bassick, that program ended in June of 22. But we have our what we call social emotional learning community schools. In those, 3 of those are school improvement grant contracts. So it's separate from the one we're talking about here. And then we have 2 staff members at Marin, which is privately funded by RIASAP. And then we have 2 staff members at Battaglia, which are with ARPA dollars. So it was just illustrating the RIASAP LEAP staff members would connect with those RIASAP staff members in school as an extra layer of connection.
Oh, okay. So this is for schools with high absenteeism in general.
Yeah.
And so it's district wide. It can be to any of the 30. We have 38 buildings, but schools, I think, so any of the 37 schools. Okay.
Yeah, we worked with Ms. Stevens on that list and the referrals were made back and forth.
Okay, and then this is a question for the administration. What particular schools do we have? I guess maybe the top 3 schools with absenteeism issues, only because I know we've done an excellent job as a district getting that number down. So we are, the areas or the particular facilities, I guess, schools that we have to work on still. Well, and sorry for asking that really off the cuff. I know.
That's okay. When I think about the data, we have a lot of work to do still across the district. We have made quite a few strides when we look at comparisons with our DERGs, that we are definitely holding our own and we're doing very well. However, when we look at chronic absenteeism across the district, we still have high percentages. So at the high school level, probably are the outliers when I think about that, but then we do have some close ones in elementary too. High school overall, pretty much they're about 36, 37%, all of our high schools. So it's not just one particular, which is pretty high, but we also have some elementaries that are equally as concerning. Let's see which ones. It's probably about 5 or 6. Claytor is high, Dunbar is high, Tisdale is high. There are a few more that are high as well, but you're just asking me for 3, but I can't give you 3, but I gave you more than 3. But, just looking at the landscape, and we were talking about this earlier today, Ms. Lynn and I, what we can do to be able to work on that. So we're talking about the LEAP home visitors and what other ways we can utilize that program. And even we were talking about implementing a pilot program of the walking school bus as well at one of the schools to see how we can help, target that neighborhood to be able to address it specifically on 1 session days and so forth. So we're just looking at other ways to do it, but it isn't just 3. So I don't want to give that interpretation.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. That answers a lot. And that's something, once that pilot is launched, the walk-in school bus, I'll be interested because I did see on News 12, another district implemented the walk-in school bus to address chronic absenteeism. And for a second, I thought it was our school district, but it wasn't.
If I may as well, this is not related to the LEAP contract we're discussing today, but the sample size of the schools I mentioned, I neglected to mention Harding. We have a federal grant to Harding for the rest of the year, but through a sample size of our K-8 schools, the young people that we're directly working with in the school are showing about a 20% attendance improvement.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Yes.
Thank you again for coming. Question, with the 6,000 encounters that you've had, are you seeing a trend up or a trend down with the need for the encounters?
You're not wasting any time, huh? Well, congratulations and welcome, but I think that's a question for Ms. Stevens, who would have that data.
I believe you were referring to the 6,000 contacts that were made with our 60 home visitors who represent 27 of the Bridgeport Public Schools. We have seen a decrease in chronic absenteeism, which is their main focus, is to decrease chronic absenteeism for students that are identified as being on the chronic absenteeism list or the extreme chronic absenteeism list. So in individual cases, we've seen student attendance improve as a result of home visits. And additionally, we've seen a decrease in chronic absenteeism across the district. And in comparison to like districts, Bridgeport Public Schools chronic absenteeism rate is I shouldn't say much lower, it is lower than like districts in the chronic absenteeism area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Follow up, another question. When the calls are made to the parents, is there a majority yes that you get from the parents to do the home visit, or is it a majority no?
I would again defer to Ms. Stevens on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. The majority is yes. Sometimes it takes a couple of times, but for the most part, the majority is yes. And the response when the home visitors go into the home is typically extreme gratefulness for the home visitor coming into the home and listening to the family and offering either community support or support back at the school by making that connection to individuals within the school, whether it be support staff, administration, or teachers who can help that family.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, would someone like to make a motion? Put your mic on, put your mic on.
Sorry. I make a motion that we approve the MOU with RISAP for the delivery of home visiting services as subcontractor on the district state-funded ARPA expanded support for learning engagement and attendance program, LEAP grant.
Second.
Okay. I'm gonna give it to Ms. Baptiste Perez.
Ladies first.
Yes. Any further questions? Any further comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Mark. Thank you, Ms. Lynn. Thank you to all the staff that presented on this item.
Thank you.
The next agenda item is discussion and possible approval of this Discovery Magnet field trip to Washington, D.C. and Nature's Classroom.
Good evening. Thank you. We are here to just present to you an overview of our 2 field trip packets that we had submitted to the board for our full approval, and my 2 lead teachers, one for Nature Classroom and one for DC trip. It's just going to give you an overview, curriculum alignment, and safety protocols. For DC.
Hi, my name is Karine Dries. I'm the 7th and 8th grade social studies teacher at Discovery Magnet School. And we've been going to DC since 2015, except for the pandemic. This is our first year going back. And I just want to give you a little overview. We're going to be going to DC May 22nd to the 25th. We're first going to be going to Washington, D.C., meeting with our course leaders, hopefully getting into the Holocaust Museum. And then afterwards, we're going to be going to Jamestown, and then going to Williamsburg, coming back to D.C., visiting all the most of the museums and monuments, visiting the Capitol. We do have a Capitol tour on Thursday, and then we're going to be going to Gettysburg before we return home. As far as the alignment with the curriculum, we are, as part of the 8th grade curriculum, we do study American history, and we think that just by having them going into Washington, D.C. and the surrounding areas, they'll be able to make a connection to all the different key major events and locations that relate to American history, because our curriculum, we study American colonial history up until World War I, World War II, with special projects towards the end. So I think it would be a great connection to our curriculum. We hope to be able to witness during the Capitol tour, at least to see Congress in session, which they should be in session during that time, between May 22nd and the 26th of that week. So we hope to be able to see a debate. We'll be visiting different places, and hopefully they'll be able to make a connection to everything that we have been learning. And so within our curriculum, we do study American history. We do study international affairs. So being able to see the monuments of World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, they'll be able to make a connection as to how the United States participate in diplomacy, and to be able to see how the United States got involved by going to the Holocaust Museum during World War II, to be able to witness the traditions of the United States during colonial America, and even the Revolutionary War when we visit colonial Virginia or Williamsburg, Virginia. And we're actually going to be going to Mount Vernon as well to see the historical home of former President George Washington. And so I think that these different visits, it really does give them a sense of understanding what we have been learning through books and discussions and things like that. As far as our safety plan is concerned, our trip is planned by myself and World Strides, which is a company very well known. They've been planning trips for various schools around the country for at least 30 years, 30 to 50 years. They do have great experience. And our safety plan is that we do meet with our course leader. We do have 2 hotels that we're going to be staying at, because we're going to spend one night in Virginia, and the first night, and then the remaining 2 nights we're going to be in Washington, D.C., or the outskirts. We do have 2 night auditors that are going, or monitors, I'm sorry, night monitors that are going to be monitoring us during the evening. They are there from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. They do monitor, and I've had experience with them. They go in, they sit in the opposite ends of our halls, and they monitor throughout the night. And they'll probably knock on my door if there are any issues, and lately we haven't had anything like that. But they will give me a report every single night while we're there. In the morning, we have breakfast at the hotel, and then afterwards we meet with our tour guide when we drive out, and we'll go to the various monuments and different places that we're supposed to be. We have appointments there. Our meals are included, so we do have breakfast, lunch, and dinner included as part of our trip. In addition, as far as our safety plan, we do have a list of all of our medications that we need, and we are going to ensure that our students bring medication with them, so they won't be able to board unless they have their medications with them. We do have 2 teacher chaperones. It will be myself and another teacher, a teacher, as well as 4 parent chaperones as well. So we have 6 chaperones, 35 students attending our trip, so it'll be a number of 41 students attending, in addition to our tour guide, as well as 2 night monitors in the evening. So that is the gist of my safety plan. If we have any medical issues, we do have a hotline that we are supposed to call, as well as I do have all the numbers of all the parents that are of our children that are going to be participating. We do have the numbers, the cell phone numbers of all of our students. So if there are any issues, we're able to text each other just to be able to do that. I already made up our group plan, so we have our 6 chaperones with a group of at least 5 or 6 students per chaperone. So they have their groups that they're monitoring. So every time we make a stop, the chaperones will just take attendance in everywhere that we go. But we usually stay close with our tour guide. And if we're not walking, we're on the bus getting to wherever we need to be. So we'll be coming back in the evening of the 25th.
Thank you. Are there any questions concerning this trip? Mr. Benayan.
I see you, your trip is the one that said that they have 2 night monitor,
Yes,
right? Their staff or parents?
their staff for World Strides. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Traber.
I looked through the trip earlier and it looks like a heck of a trip. I'm trying to figure out how I could go along.
I tried to pack it up.
You have it very full. But enjoy.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Sokolovic?
Yeah, did this trip go through the Teaching and Learning Committee?
Did it? I don't think so. This is the first time we're presenting.
It did not. Due to time. Miss.
With the staff who are attending with the medical pieces, there are staff who are trained to administer medication that are attending as well, correct?
I'm not trained to give medication. However, based on the list that we have, most of them taking medication for allergies. So that's all that we have.
Okay, so there's no EpiPens or,
No.
Okay, asthma.
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Just allergies to shrimp, and that's it.
Perfect, thank you.
All right. Anyone else?
How many kids? Just how many?
I'm sorry, 35 students
35. Okay, thank
and 6 chaperones.
Yes, Mr.
Please correct me if I'm wrong. I see they say 4 chaperones here.
Excuse me?
They say 4, not 6.
6. It's for parent chaperones, 2 teachers, myself and another. Yes, sorry. You're welcome.
All right, so this agenda item is all in one, so we're gonna let the next person come up and give the rest of her report. Her presentation.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for listening. My name's Alicia Romatzik. I teach science 5th and 6th grade at Discovery Magnet. I'm here to talk about Nature's Classroom. We have been participating in this amazing overnight program for the past 12 years, with COVID taking a couple of years out, but we returned last year and we would love to go again this year. Nature's Classroom is a overnight outdoor in nature learning experience. It has a really lasting impact on the students. It's focused on not only the outdoors and learning, but their social, emotional, building community, collaborative. The day is filled with special interest classes such as dissecting sharks and sheep's eyeballs to, so cool, it really is. That was very specific, to building water rockets and shooting them up, and the kids building habitats and shelter. It's just an amazing experience. They learn all through building challenges and putting themselves in the shoes of others. So they live together, they serve meals together, they clean up together. It's just really also great for their mental health. In our science curriculum, we focus a lot in 6th grade on ecosystems and landforms and populations and what happens, how they increase, how they decrease. And this, very specifically constructing explanations based on environmental factors and making sense from natural resources and that impact on society. So this program does meet those standards in their daily field groups and special interest classes. It also does a lot of cross-curricular. There's math, there's history. It's just overall a great day. Our safety plan specifies, in the case of an emergency, a chaperone, and I'll go over that in a minute, a chaperone is notified. We have our program director, Nora Hill, who is at the Incarnation Camp, which is where Nature's Classroom is. We know our local hospitals, Middlesex Hospital, so we're aware of all that information before we go. There is a full-time medic on staff. It is either a nurse or a medic. The medication the morning of departure goes right to me. I hand it right to the medic. She administers all medication in the AM, or if there's medication in the afternoon, and the PM before bed. What else? Safety for the girls and the boys in the dorms. So the girls stay in one dorm, closed doors. The chaperones have their own, facilities and dorm room. There are 2 female teachers attending, and there are 3 male fathers that attend the trip. So the fathers stay with the boys, and the 2 female teachers accompany the girls. COVID protocols. So what we do is we provide each student and the chaperone with a COVID test there to test 72 hours before we leave. And then they will test again the morning of. And Nature's Classroom would like us to report positive tests only. And they just ask the students, and all this paperwork goes home, that, they're not putting themselves at risk before we attend the trip. So, and they have their safety protocols as well for that.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions concerning this trip? Mr. Benahan?
Yes, I forgot to ask you, the lady before, but you can answer me, and the other lady too. I heard she said only a person with asthma. We don't have nobody else with different issue about healthy.
No.
Body.
I don't. Yeah, that's what I have so far. I can look through, but I don't think we have any, it's.
If somebody has something different,
Yep,
worry
let me
about
just
that.
get this.
Well, she's looking that up. We have a student with celiac who has a specified diet plan. It's already been communicated. We have a couple peanut allergies. EpiPens will be. So how the medication works is there's a field group leader. That's a staff of Nature's Classroom. Every morning that they embark upon their adventure, they are given the medication of the people in that group. That medication follows the student, whatever adult is with them. When they're on break, the adult gets the meds. When we're back the chaperone. When we're back in field group or special class, whoever the instructor is gets the meds, and then it comes back to us at night, and it follows the student everywhere they go.
Okay. I do have one student that has an EpiPen, but her mother is actually attending and is a chaperone with her. So that's,
All right. Thank you. No more question, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Any further questions? Mr. Sokolovic?
Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised to hear about the COVID protocols. Are those instituted by the provider or Nature's Classroom?
This is Nature's Classroom. Yeah, they put out a COVID memorandum that just lets us know. We had the same protocols last year, so they've just reinstated them again. I don't know how many years they'll do it, but it's kind of nice.
All right. Any further questions? One last time. All right, hearing none, would someone like to make this motion?
I move that we approve the field trip, Discovery Magnet field trips to Washington, D.C. and to Nature's Classroom.
Second.
Second by Mr. Benahan. Any further questions? Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain. I didn't finish going through all the documents, so I'll just abstain.
All right, one abstention. Ms. Baptiste Perez. All right, the ayes have it. We look forward to hearing more on your trip and pictures and all the good stuff.
Thank you.
The next agenda item is discussion and possible approval of the district's yearly request for the USAC/E-rate submission for 2023-24 school year. Mr. Poskalowski.
Hi, everybody. This is our normal yearly request that we provide to USAC. USAC is the federal government's funding entity that provides us with the funds that pay for our internet connectivity and the networking equipment and all the different stuff that we do. So essentially, every year we prepare the proposal, and then that just goes through the standard process, and then the board, provides approval for our normal yearly, and then they fund us. So this year is like every other year. For category 1, they're funding, and in case you don't know, we are an 85 and 95% district. So they fund basically the mass majority of our entire stuff for E-rate. So that's what it is. Are there any questions?
Any questions? This was also brought through contracts committee as well.
This typically doesn't. This is a formality that's done.
Correct.
Basically, they give us money every year. That's how that works. So this is just our declaration of what our intent is. So.
Okay. Comments, questions, Mr. Benahan?
Yeah, how much money are we talking about?
That they give us?
Yeah.
About $2 million. Yeah. It's in the packet, but it's roughly about $2 million. Yep.
Questions? Would someone like to make this motion?
Yep, and then the language is in the board packet. It's 2 resolutions.
Oh, so I'll read it.
No problem.
I have it.
You got it?
I make a motion to approve. You simply want the approval.
Yeah, what we do is we read into the record so that what happens is it's one.
Do they want the identical language like this?
They do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because USAC
I
is
wanted to
very
be clear,
specific.
'cause to approve or disapprove.
Yeah.
All right, I make a motion that we vote to approve or disapprove resolution for schools and libraries universal services, parentheses E-rate for 2023-24. This resolution authorizes filing of the Form 471 applications for funding year 2023-24 and the payment of the applicant's share upon approval of funding and the receipt of services.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Benahan. Any further questions or comments?
Quick clarification as to the form of the motion. You read the move.
He read the,
You read a move / approve / disapprove?
that's what's in the,
I think we need to /
It is my understanding, I asked,
Yeah,
but you may have been out, that if this is literally the way they want it read.
Yeah, they want it
Yeah.
read in the approval
In the
fashion,
record.
to approve it.
So we're going to vote to approve, as I understand the motion that we're about to make. We're going to vote as opposed to yes or no, we're going to vote to approve or disapprove.
Correct, yeah.
got it. All right. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Oh, vote to approve.
We're going to vote to approve or disapprove. So can we have a roll call vote, please?
Roll
Okay.
call vote. You know our names.
Yeah, I know. Mr. David? Mr. Keisha?
Approve.
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 Abstain.
Approve.
All right.
Abstain.
So it's been approved.
Yeah.
Now do we do it on the, if it's been approved?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Thank you.
And then the last item is discussion possible approval update on the school year calendar for 23-24. This is Ms. Perrin.
Yes, I brought forward this agenda item because as we're looking at transitions for our kindergarten students as well as our grade 9 students, we wanted to allot a day where they'd be able to come into the school environment, meet with staff, get familiar with schedules, different things as they acclimate. As we know, kindergarten students, a lot of times, especially coming out of the pandemic, this is their first educational experience. So give them some time where they're the only ones in the building to be able to do tours and acclimate. Also with the grade 9, looking at our trending data regarding those students who are off track for graduation, a large percentage of those are our grade 9 students. And one of the things that we're discovering as we look at the data is that they need more support within the transition. So part of the work that we're doing at the district level is creating some transition programs for them. So there are high school administrators as well as the director for counseling is going to be going to Connecticut Rise, which is a program specifically targeted at providing transition plans for high schools. And then we're going to go on beyond that and do work to be able to create these plans at the high school level. So we wanted to be able to allot time to create a high school experience for those scholars where it's just them in the buildings. So looking at August 28th being the first day for our kindergarten and our grade 9 students, and all scholars coming back on August the 29th.
Right? Are there any discussion, comments, concerns? Yeah, oh, sorry.
Yeah, just a quick question. This doesn't interfere with any staff contracts or any,
No, because when you look at certified staff, they have to have the total of the 186 days, so it will be absorbed in that.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Draper?
Do we not want a motion on the floor first? We don't need to
No,
vote to
no, we're
approve
just
this.
discussing it.
The question that I had was on that first day, the remaining staff will be in the classroom?
The remaining staff will be in the classroom. So what we're looking at really for the high school level is really putting together plans where people will be pitching in to help with transitioning those scholars. So it might be some type of school pride type of activity. It might be something there for parents to be invited to do tours of the buildings, just to overall, but they will all be in the building, correct?
So then again, they're going to be in the building and their time will be determined later by the administrator. What they will be doing will be determined later by the administrator.
So they'll be working on professional responsibilities. So that there, of course, will probably be some time in the classroom, but there will be some time that's allocated to help support these students, specifically at the high school level.
Actually, I do have a follow, and that's, you've discussed that with the union?
I did communicate that with the union as well. They haven't come up with any questions. It was at our last meeting that I did bring it forward. So I'm sure that they will have more questions because it was towards the very end.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Jello?
So for the first day, the 28th, is that a full day for our kindergarten students and our ninth grade students?
So that very first day of school, according to our calendar, will be a full day of school.
As far as cafeteria food, are we going to adjust maybe the amount of food that is made, since it will be a portion of the students? Do we have that discussion with the cafeteria staff?
It will be going through the nutrition center, not the cafeteria staff, and they will be made well aware once it's approved.
Any further questions? Further comments? Would someone like, oh, Ms. Cashmere?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. I remember, like, when I was going to high school, if there were snow days, we would like stay, oh my God, it'd be like, oh, we're gonna be here till the end of June if it was like a snowy winter. So I see that the snow days are gonna be made up, like starting February 15th and the April vacation. So I just wanted to make that comment. Like, I think that's just awesome. I know the students would be happy to be able to get out on time and, maybe give up some of their April vacation. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
And I also would like to add, I think this kind of probably was inspired, I don't know, it probably was on your agenda for a while, but we talked about this in teaching and learning, not teaching and learning, students and families, the transition for the ninth graders and the kindergarten students. Some of them are coming into new buildings and it feels like a major rush. They didn't even know the school. So I do appreciate something like this for them. So if there are no, yep, Ms. Baptiste Perez.
Because our schools offer pre-K just pre-K 4. The first day of school, is that open to pre-K as well, or is it just kindergarten?
I was looking just at kindergarten because one of the things that we will encounter with pre-K, because we do have some pre-K 3s as well, is that with that, we have to have our non-certified staff to be able to come in and be able to support that piece. And it's all about numbers with pre-K. So we may not have all the staff to be able to return back to that. It's something that it is on my mind, but I haven't engaged in the conversation with our providers to be able to know whether we can open up to pre-K. So I just was looking at specifically kindergarten and grade 9.
Thank you.
All right, and no further questions. Would someone like to make the motion?
Motion to revise this 23-24 school calendar as presented by Superintendent Perrin.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Traber. Any questions, comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Oh, I'm lying. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. Have a good night.
Mm-hmm.